Down. Don't wait for the e-collar. You can edit all out. Buck. Down.
He gives it away because he closes his mouth as soon as he hears the word down. So he processes it and then he says, you know what? No, I'm not going to listen. Because at 4 years old, he knows down. It's just, he doesn't want to listen.
Down. That's good.
Sniffs the ground. Pretends he doesn't hear us. Fake sniffing. Weighs his options.
That's good.
Good. Goes halfway with a
That's
sit.
good.
This is called trying to trade. He says, I'll sit, but I am not going to give in to what you asked.
Down.
And here comes the accountability. More fake sniffing and good submission. You got to run through some options. So there's fight, flight, charm, trade, submit. Good job, Buck. We've been working on this.
There's freeze too.
Freeze, yeah, that's ignore. Like I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear you. We've actually had owners that think their dogs are deaf. They've had their hearing tested and they can hear perfectly fine. They just don't listen. Good boy. We've been working on this. We started it yesterday with the down.
Good boy.
Good boy, Buck. And then the other half, of course, is the stay.
Yeah. So you want to talk about why he doesn't want down? It's not about the down.
No, because he knows. He doesn't want to because if he listens to us, it means he's submitting and he's giving up his free will and his control.
That's right.
And he's had that for 4 years.
It's hierarchical.
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, he's 4. He's a full-blown adult. He has been for a couple of years. He's been probably ruling the roost pretty good, I'd imagine. Doesn't have to listen. So they never give it to you for free, but it's even harder when they're full-blown adults who have already been the king.
Yeah.
You know, now you have to dethrone
Yep.
rather than just create the hierarchy
Mm-hmm.
from puppy.
That's hard.
And dethroning is way, especially with bully breeds.
Yeah, they're stubborn.
You know, they don't, it's, so why is he giving us a hard time over the down? Because we asked, we told him to. If he listens, essentially,
He
he's
gives
allowing
up.
us
Yeah.
to lead.
And that's a tough pill to swallow.
And yeah, leading, if he's a follower, he doesn't have first access to all the resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which includes contractors coming into the house.
Yeah, and deciding how to deal with that situation is definitely a leader thing. You know, so.
So now he's processing.
We see it all the time with dogs. It's they don't listen simply because they know if they do, they're agreeing that you're the leader.
Yes.
And they don't give. I've never met a dog that gives that up for free.
No.
They're not designed to give it up for free. It has to be earned. So.
Yeah, they need to figure out if you're even worthy of following. Will you follow through with what you ask?
They won't. They won't follow you.
No.
Now, can you do bribing? Can you say, "Oh, he's not listening. Let me go get something that motivates him that he wants, like a piece of chicken or steak," and then yeah, but that's not leading.
Sure, but till it doesn't work anymore.
Right, because
And it's also not tackling the main issue, which is he's not listening to you.
he's not a follower, right?
Yeah.
You go around the problem.
So now,
And many people live with dogs like that.
Yeah.
Go around the problem.
yeah, well, that's what they were doing with him. They would just get a leash on him or put him in the crate
Yeah,
and sort of manage it, but it never tackled the real issue. Now he's processing. He's going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have to listen at a distance, off a leash, no matter what.
Yeah.
It'll get easier.
Oh yeah.
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 And he'll actually learn to like being a follower
Yes.
because there's no stress involved.
Yeah.
He won't be so nervous and worried about who's coming and going. I mean, he was worried about a group of men standing 100 feet away at the drop-off. Like his hackles went up.
Right. It's his position to
Like,
deal with the company.
Buck, that is not up to you to look at those guys and worry about
And
them.
most every dog takes that position if you don't correct them for
Absolutely.
taking that position, because in the pack, they all typically try to go for the resources or try to have that position, but there's confrontation amongst each other to find out who actually can call the shots. If we don't do that with them, then they just assume position. And that means they're going to bark at everything, they're going to overreact to typically bite, not listen, just not listen. You know, he's not listening to his commands. He knows his commands.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell he knows his
Oh,
commands.
yeah. I mean, the commands are so easy. At 4 years old, he's heard sit, he's heard go lay down, he's heard come here.
Yeah, he knows what you're saying.
He knows what you're saying.
He's not dumb.
No.
He's not.
He's actually very smart.
But he also hasn't, you know, to be fair to him, he hasn't been around a human being that was able to create a relationship dynamic of the human leader, the dog follower.
Mm-hmm.
It's never existed to him before. So he sees humans and he's like, he thinks, you know, when he first met us, he just thought we were like the rest of the humans, right? Something that he can get things out of.
Yes,
easily
and
manipulated.
refuse to move and not come when called, not listen.
Right. So we're going to be the first ones that he meets us to be a model of what humans can be. They can lead. They can hold you accountable. They can win these confrontations that you put up, right? And they can follow through. And they can also be really good, loving leaders at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he hasn't experienced that. He sees, like many dogs in here, they see the humans as just food dispensers and kind of weak-minded. You know, that they literally, to get what they want, they literally can just not listen, and the human will eventually stop asking.
Yes.
You know, you only ask so many times.
Or force them away with a leash.
Or force
drag them away.
Yeah, but that's still not.
Force them in a kennel, or you know.
Or bribe.
Bribe,
is
yeah.
big. I think a lot of people live with dogs with the forcing, like you drag them with a leash or you bribe them with something. Neither of those are tackling the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And that needs to be addressed in order for a dog. Once he decides that he's going to follow, he'll just do anything you ask, right? There's maintenance to that hierarchy, but for the most part, the dog becomes easy because then they see you as leader. This is what I'm saying isn't new. You know, trainers have been saying this for a long time, but it really is kind of forgotten about. And when you get a dog and you bring it home, we're not concerned about developing a hierarchy, you know. And when we train, when people train, they're training like tricks. So they'll like teach the dog to sit for a piece of food or for
it's no different than teaching rollover or paw, and it's optional.
You're not using a conversation that's going to be hierarchical, right?
Right.
You're using, if you do this, you earn something you want. So the dog's just doing it to earn the thing that you're giving them. They're not doing it because of your relationship. And that's as simple as that.
Right.
So without that piece of food, they don't listen.
It's not natural.
Or if the food isn't as high of a motivator as something else in the environment, like a squirrel
falls
or a
apart.
dog, then they're going to go to the thing that's more rewarding, the squirrel, the dog, the person.
That's how they're built.
And then they'll come back and get the food too.
Yep.
So, not saying that that's how he was trained, but if he was trained, I'm almost guarantee you that's how it's trained. Because I haven't met a person in my years of doing this that hadn't done it that way.
Yeah.
You can see I'm not rewarding him with a nice tasty treat for laying down. He's a 4-year-old dog.
Look at what just being held accountable for staying and laying down. Look at the stress that causes.
That's stress.
That is insane that his threshold is that low.
He's not fully committed either.
No,
You know,
he's thinking about
I
where
see it
can
in
I
his
go?
face.
He can go there. He can go there. Nothing's holding him here, and that's the thought process in his head is like, I'm stressed because I still want to do all these things.
Right.
Now we strengthen that by adding some triggers and then holding him accountable.
When he tries the ideas in his head and they don't work out, he then drops them.
Yeah.
He realizes what I'm saying does work out and that it's not so bad. He starts doing what I say. And then after the course of a couple of weeks of living as a follower, the brain just becomes a follower within the context of our relationship.
Right.
So he sees me, he goes into that position. Like, I remember the feeling of like being home. I've talked about this before, but like being home and being crazy with my mom, you know, all of us kids were just completely nuts. And then the minute dad walks in, all of a sudden we take a different position in the back.
Everyone
And
shapes up.
all of a sudden we're listening, but even though he never addressed any of the nonsense that we were doing for the past 6 hours, right? That's because he's already established himself as the authority figure. And so when he comes in the room, we adjust. Same with like if a cop came here and started, you know,
Or
having
pulled up behind you
interaction
on the
with
road.
or pull you over.
Yes.
I am going to take a backseat to that authority figure. Just naturally,
Yes.
I'm going to, that's how it goes. So if we can get that with our dogs, but if we don't, you can see how it falls apart.
Yeah.
So, we're using him as an example, but even easier dogs, let's say a dog who doesn't have this level of stubbornness, or dogs that aren't necessarily aggressive or anything, they're still, people call them brats, people call them entitled. It's just a dog who hasn't committed to following a human, and they never had a reason to. Last night, you heard a bunch of coyotes, doing their thing out in the woods there, and it was really intriguing. And so you did a little research on wolves, and you've seen that the wolves form a hierarchy within the first, 4 weeks?
4 to 5 weeks. Hierarchies are formed.
Right, they start to form it within the pack.
Yes.
Dogs are very similar. They'll form those hierarchies within their natural pack, but what happens is they
They're
get adopted
plucked
at
away.
8 weeks.
Yep.
And when they get adopted and put into a human home, that hierarchy is gone. Because we're not thinking like that, right? The average person who gets a dog isn't thinking like that. So it's completely gone, and they're not put in that position of follower. They're not held accountable to be in that position as follower, so they develop into an adult as leader and independent. Leader meaning they can do what they want. And oftentimes they can get you. Most of these dogs are able to make a sound or do something.
But they're training us.
They will literally put you in the follower position. And so, because that is where they are up here. That is how dogs operate. Okay? So, but if we have that knowledge and we raise a dog with the intention of being the leader, and we go through all those conversations we need to have as we raise them, then guess what? The dog does listen. The dog becomes their best version. And it's more natural because you've kept the hierarchy going that they would have got in their pack. They would have been, a buck's not going to be on the top, right? There's no way. Especially if he's let's say he's in a pack of dogs, like, I love watching street dogs when they get together and they form a pack, because there are different breeds, and you can see the one who's more competent in the confrontations is the one that everyone's going to have the resources. Our pack, for example, Riggins gets the resources. If all 3 dogs were in this room and there was something valuable that they all want on the floor, if Riggins walks up to it, they just let him have it. There is no fight. He's already established himself, right? So Buck here has never had that with his human family, right? So 4 years old, first time, tough pill to swallow that he's no longer the king of the environment. He's no longer the big lion. He's no longer the one who can call the shots. There's somebody else disagreeing effectively and also telling him what to do,
right,
and hold him accountable if he's not
Imagine
listening.
how entitled he felt, that he felt confident enough to try to bite somebody that came into their house.
It's because it's Buck's house. It's
Yeah,
not their house.
it's Buck's house.
Buck's house, and he's allowing you to
Yes.
live there. And it's not just Buck, all the dogs here. Every dog that's in training right now, it's their house,
Yeah.
as far as they're concerned. So, and every breed and every temperament's going to have different symptoms, different severity of the symptoms, but it comes down to they don't have the leader that they need, right? That relationship that they need. Again, my dad walks in the house when I was a kid, all of a sudden we're not doing the nonsense we did with mom.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against moms out there. My mom in particular was just not a great authority figure. She just didn't hold us accountable. She wasn't able to control us 3 boys when dad wasn't home. She just wasn't able to. So it was, the biggest threat that she had is, I'll tell your father. And that would keep us under control. But without him there, we didn't respect her enough. We were, I feel like I was a pretty good kid, but we were brats when it was just her. So that's an example. That's the example right there. And we all know it to be true,
Yeah.
because we operate in hierarchies as well. Whether
Yep.
we see it
Yep.
or believe it
Absolutely.
or not, 100%. There's hierarchies within your own home, there's hierarchies within your community, and there's hierarchies within the country.
Yep.
And so that's also why we're able to live in a pack with dogs, because we both live that way.
Yep.
But when we get dogs, we want them as a comfort, because life's hard. Life is hard, so we just want all the good stuff. We don't want to deal with hierarchy and punishment. we throw punishment and just forget about it. Let's not learn how to punish a dog. Let's just learn how to
have
do
fun
the
with
fun
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we're like, whoops. So, you know, and we have a big liability. So yeah, and I understand. But the cool thing is if you do become leader and you put that work in, you get all those benefits back. It comes back tenfold, where you can have all the things that you want, plus you have a follower. But in the beginning, you can't just do what's fun. You have to do what's needed. You have to raise the dog. And raising a dog or raising a kid, you have to do things that are necessary, even though it's not the most fun of times. Okay? And that's what love is, by the way. That's real love, is doing something that's not necessarily fun for you, but it's best for the dog or best for the kid.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, it's not necessarily fun for the dog or the kid at that time, but it's best for them.
Yeah.
And that is true love, you know? So, now we have a way to punish Buck if he doesn't listen, and it's making the world a difference. So the missing element at home was the ability to punish effectively and clearly.
For biting, especially.
Yeah, and also the knowledge of knowing what's disrespectful. All these little things that I bet you he did 1,000 different things that were disrespectful on a daily basis that we let slide, that then led to him feeling like he was able to make that choice. I have dogs I've had dogs in the past that are nervous of people and stuff, but because of the hierarchy that I set, when they see a person walk in, they sit back and they let me choose how to deal with it. In a different upbringing, they would have charged and bit too. So that's how much it's not necessarily the commands as much as it is the hierarchy in the home.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. Nice one.
All right, Buck. Break.
Nice job, Buck. Good job. That was hard to hold that. That was about 15 minutes. Downstay.
That was good.
Beautiful.
That was good.
I would guess that would maybe be his 10th down rep.
Yeah, and that was his best one because he didn't fight. He didn't go into fight like you were talking about the modes they can go into when it comes to confrontation.
Oh
right?
yeah, he tries anything but lay down.
You know, he's tried flight, he's tried fight, he's tried freeze.
He's tried ignoring.
He's tried ignoring.
He's tried offering something else.
He's tried charm.
Yep.
Right, and that's the one that's missed a lot of the time with people is like a dog, you'll ask them to do something and then they'll get cute.
Yep, they'll give you their paw or they'll nuzzle up.
Yeah, we call that manipulation. And it should be corrected. Yeah. Yeah, or they like going for a pet and then it softens the person. They learn that softens the person.
But then when you really need it, you're screwed.
You're screwed. You're screwed. That's why if you ask for it, get it. Otherwise, don't ask for it. You know what I mean? If I'm going to ask for a down, I might want to make sure I get it.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm not going to ask for it.
Yep.
You know? Good boy, Bob.
Good job, Buck.
We got to do it again, bud.
You got to do it again until you're smooth like butter.
Buck's a liability for biting people.
For sure.
He bites.
Yep.
Right?
And that's why he's here. She was like, I can't have my dogs be biting.
He bites.
Contractors.
Right? So, it's not, you know, and the fact that he's willing to bite a contractor, it's not the only scenario that he'd be willing to biting. It's just his small life.
Oh, he snapped at me the other day when I was trying to put his leash on. He was like, no, I don't want my leash on. It's like...
he's willing to bite over, I don't want this, so bite. We only seen it in that contractor scenario because he has such a small life.
Yes.
And we move him around with probably bribes and
leashes
and stuff. We're not really entering the conversation and staying there, and then you will see fight and flight. You will see that with all of them. They're just different intensities and different things they throw at you.
Yeah.
Some of the fights aren't going to be aggressive, but they're going to be temper tantrums, right? But you know, you have to go through that in order to get a follow. That's the ritual. That's what they do with each other. If we avoid that, well, we're never going to get it.
No.
So the beauty is, post-fight,
they listen.
get a follower.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're able to follow through and actually get what you want out of that conversation, you get a follower. They might try in different scenarios for a while, but a couple weeks down the road, they've committed. When they commit, they get all the good stuff. They get the freedoms. They get the appreciation and the love and the affection. When they're being a follower. Whenever I see him being submissive, that's when he's being pet.
Yeah.
That's when I'm telling him I love him. When I see him being stubborn, we're going to go down that road. And that's tough love, and it's very effective. And you need it in order to be the leader. It's hard to be the leader because when you're tired or you're exhausted or you're fed up with life, you still have to hold your hierarchy true when you come home and your dog's not listening. Okay? Buck. Down.
Looks around, pretends like he didn't hear it. I didn't hear anything, but notice he stopped. He closed his mouth because he heard something. Good.
Good boy.
Wow.
Oh,
A little complaint there.
Little complaint, because I can tell you right now, if anyone's ever worked with an e-collar before, the number I came in on and stayed on was an 8.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
Buck.
Go ahead and put an 8 on your hand. And
Can't even feel it.
Barely if you can.
Yeah.
It's just more of like, but look, he listened to
He listened faster than the last rep.
And he listened upon, but he was waiting for the correction though.
He's saying, but will you make me?
Yes. Which will go away, but
Yeah,
listen, he didn't make me go through punishing levels. That was not a punishing level. That was a reminder. I was holding it just to say, this is on now.
What are you gonna do?
If you can turn it off by laying down.
Yes.
Good boy. Or you can go into fight, flight, all that stuff, and we'll have to go to higher
It's like
numbers.
a chess game. Like, what's your next move?
Yeah, it's a dance. It's back.
Yeah.
It really is a ritual of creating compliance, But that was his best one right there. He did it quicker.
Nice
he wasn't
job.
looking for the way out. He says the way out of this conversation is to listen.
Yeah.
And then that's when I say, yes, that's what I love.
Good
I love
job,
when
Buck.
Good boy, buddy.
Good boy.
It'll become easier for him and smoother, but we're just letting you in on the process here. This is the real stuff. It doesn't look flashy. It doesn't look fun. But this is what's necessary for a guy like him because he is so bad.
Bullheaded.
Yeah, he's not going to listen. And if we don't earn it in these situations like this, we're never going to make.
No.
I could get out here with a hot dog and make it look good.
Yeah.
And then send him home and have it all fall apart.
And then he's got diarrhea.
Right. But do you understand
Yeah.
that the motivation, there's 2 types of motivation, right? The motivation to earn and the motivation to avoid. If we don't use the one to avoid a consequence, we're not getting a follower.
Right.
We're not. We're not going to. Good boy, Buck. Break.
Nice work,
Good boy,
Buck. Good boy. He's gonna say, I'm just gonna stay here because they're just gonna
Break.
ask me again. So,
Alright.
so if he doesn't want to release, we're just gonna recall him.
Come.
Good, because
boy.
recall is non-optional.
There's a correction there.
Okay, recall is non-optional. So if he doesn't want to release when he gets the break command, he'll just
Good.
get a beep and he has to recall.
Good
Nice
boy.
work.
Good boy.
So if you ever go to release your dog from place or a command or the crate and they don't want to, but you really need them to, just use a recall.
Yep. If you've seen it, if you rewind it, you'll see as I was recalling, he was starting to head
That
way.
way, I noticed.
He gave a correction.
Yep.
And
And he came to you. Yep.
He knew what to do from
Yep.
the beginning. It was again the brain going to the old wiring.
I don't want to listen.
That's that old wiring of just going against the grain.
He's literally wired to do the opposite of what you
He's
asked.
trained to.
Yes.
His brain is trained to. But we're rewiring that response, and he'll drop all that
Yeah.
as the days go on. Yeah, he's on a 4-week program. He's
Yeah.
not even. What is he? Not even halfway through.
No, he's like on
The first week.
No, yeah.
He's like 3-4 days of training here. By week 2, which is halfway of the program, we're gonna have a fall.
Yeah, he'll be
the
awesome.
rest of it is just proofing. Yeah. This is not a permanent state.
No.
This is the necessary state to go through in order
Yes.
to get a follower.
Yeah, it's like if you're renovating your kitchen, you're not gonna walk through halfway and be like, why doesn't it look good?
Why is it messy in here?
Yeah,
Why
well
is
we're
it
not
bad?
finished yet.
Right, but showing this is letting everybody in on how it really is done.
Yeah, there's no magic.
There is no.
There is some finesse, but there's no magic.
finesse. Don't get me wrong. You have to know what you're doing, but it's not. It's not what if you go looking up training right now. I mean, at least when I did, the only thing that came up was like get
Lures.
the tastiest food you
Yep.
can, but what that does, and we've worked with a lot of dogs who've
Bypassing
had
it.
that.
Yeah.
Almost all of our dogs have been down that road. You're bypassing the hierarchical conversation that dogs do with each other. If I let Riggins down here, they're having that conversation immediately to figure out the hierarchy. And especially if there's a resource on the ground, they're gonna have that conversation. We're not bypassing that. Those are our main conversations. We have those. That's why at the end, the dog's complying happily and without the need to be bribing them. If you have to bribe your dog to do something, You're not the leader.
Got it.